that we need to amend the agenda for a personnel transaction. It would be, motion would be for G5, approved personnel transaction, hire an administrative transportation coordinator. So first up, I was going to, need a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved. Support.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Couple meetings ago, I was told we can't do that except for the beginning.
That's because I'm running the meeting.
So you would go by the name of the board?
The chairman
Fighting amongst themselves.
of the board, handling the meeting. It's my
Would you speak up, please?
Yeah, can you lean into the microphone, please? We can't hear you, sir.
Thank you.
Because it's important for scheduling reasons, we're adding it. If the board approves it. If the board doesn't approve it, it won't be here.
So I have no problem. I just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, it was brought to my attention that it needed to be added by administration. It was unfortunately not put on. So the motion would be to add to G5, approved personnel transaction, hire an administrator, transportation coordinator. Can I have a motion?
I move.
Support.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries, so this will be G5.
So I just want to go over a few things, and some of this information has not changed since 2 weeks ago. There is some new information, though, but I just think this is important to keep you aware of as a Board of Education. So, Sarah, do I have the, or are you going to, could you go ahead and advance it, please? So here's an update on book requests, and this really has not changed. So to date, we have received 48 unique book reconsideration requests. We did receive some duplicates, but the total number of individual books being asked for reconsideration is 48. The majority of those have come from 4 parents, and only 1 book reconsideration request was submitted at the elementary level. So there are some at the middle school level. The majority of them are at the high school level. And just to clarify here, only 1 request is needed to initiate a system-wide review for all grade levels. So if a book is identified by someone who would like it reconsidered for circulation, and it's at, say, Iroquois, that once we go through that process with that book, that would apply to all our middle schools. It's not individual reconsiderations per school, it is per level. The decision will be made per level for each book. Last week, we did send out our opt-out form. We informed the community of this, that if there were media materials that they chose not to have their child be allowed to take from the media center, that there was an opt-out form they could complete. We sent out 15,386 emails, and to date, we have not received any opt-out request. So it's out there, and we'll continue to communicate this to make sure our community is clear on this, and that they do have the right to opt their individual child. So we'll continue to do that. So some additional actions we have here, and I think, again, this is important to understand, that part of the review process is ongoing, and this is conducted by both our media clerks and our media specialists, and that there is criteria for removing books that they make decisions on. So this is something they're always doing. And I know you've received the Media Center guidelines, and if you wanted to see the criteria that they use to make decisions on materials, it's on page 6. The media clerks in that we've met with them, and we've requested that, when they're making these decisions, they have other people they can go to help with this decision. They can go to their building administrators, and also they're free to contact the media specialists at our 2 high schools. So that is currently going on. It really is always going on. But they're also going through the materials and making sure that they're appropriate. I would like, as a point of reference on this process, in our libraries across our district, if you were to total up the individual titles in each school building, we have just shy of 181,000 books in our school district. So this is a big task. But that's an ongoing process. So some of the additional actions we're taking, we're doing our best to prioritize book reconsideration requests. The only thing we really have to go on now for a priority list is date by they were submitted. So we're trying to do that, to prioritize of what books, but like I said, other than date, right now, date of submittal of the request, that's what we were going. Also, and I talked about this last week, and this continues to be very important to us, and this really is the basis on which we're doing everything, is that if you just consider the variety of reasons for reconsideration, and there are a variety of reasons, it's not one simple reason. When the forms are filled out, people put up different reasons for books to be reconsidered. That combined with just legal concerns on how we conduct this process in our school district, it's just important to us that we continue to follow our process and that we consider to follow our media center guidelines to do this. I mean, we have to have a process in any matter that we deal with like this. We have to be consistent across the district in order for our whatever decision we reached, it has to have a similar process to when we reach that decision. So that remains very important to us. So on this next slide, we will follow through on every single book that's been put up for reconsideration. We will follow our process, and books that are deemed not appropriate for a grade level will be removed or possibly moved to a higher grade level. I mean, that is listed in our document as an option. So some books may be removed from the district, others may be deemed appropriate, and others may be moved to a higher level. We have established committees already, and we're getting through our first few books, and we hope to reach decisions on those shortly and share those decisions. And also, just to be clear, as said before, the person who put in the request will be communicated with personally, and then also we'll post a determination on our district website. So that some of that should be starting shortly. So the bottom line in all of this is that, you can go to the next slide. No, the bottom line. We do have an excellent educational program. We have for years. We've developed trust with our community and trust with our parents. We have a track record of listening to our parents and listening to our community. And this has been a strong relationship. We have always worked with our parents that want to opt out of a lesson, book, or a material. Although that doesn't happen very often. Occasionally we do get a family who chooses that maybe a book is not appropriate to their values in their home. And teachers work with that family to provide an alternative that meets the criteria of the lesson or the reason the book is being taught. So we've always done that. And then we respect every parent's right to guide their children's learning, and we honor those requests. And that's no different with our media center materials. People can opt out as we go through this process. If it's not quick enough for people, there is you can opt out and have your child not take that book from the library. So with that, that's kind of where we are in this. And by the next meeting, we hope, or even prior to the next meeting, have more information for you and for people who have submitted reconsideration requests. So that's where we are right now.
Next item on the agenda is K from the community. Got a few slides here. have them in order. First, let me just say, you want to try to keep it to 3 minutes so everybody gets a chance to talk, who wants to talk, so we'll let you know when it's close to 3 minutes. Yeah, when you have 1 minute left, Mr. Solo will let you know. Try to wrap it up in 3 minutes, so the next person. The first person is Sue Kraft. Please step up here. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sue Kraft. Okay. I'm a former public school teacher of 30 years, and I live in this district. As a public school teacher, I was always told to protect my kids' safety. We had fire drills, tornado drills, and all forms of safety precautions. You, as a school board, are not keeping your students safe. What is wrong with you people? How did you feel listening to those horrible, graphic excerpts we heard from those books at the last meetings? Were you uncomfortable? I was. How did you react when you found out that these books are available to our 9th grade children? That's right, 14 and 15-year-old children. If you are okay with these books, I dare you to go home and read them out loud to your children and grandchildren. How would you react if you discovered a teacher in this district read out loud in your child's classroom what we heard at these meetings? Would you bring him or her to the authorities and have them escorted out and have them fired? I would certainly hope so. Then why on earth would you allow such trash to be available in our schools? Who knows what sick, demented, and perverted thoughts and actions might be triggered by reading these books? If it escalates to abuse, molesting, or rape, let that be on your heads because of your lack of action and dragging your feet. What would you do if you found out that there was dangerous and possibly poisonous food being served in the lunchroom? Would you say, well, there is a process to get that food removed, or we have a committee
You tell them.
we have a committee to look into it, and we're not forcing the food on them, we're merely making it available. What if one of your own kids or grandkids had that food available to them but were not aware that it was dangerous? What would you do? You would go immediately to the source and have it removed before anyone was harmed. Well, there is more than one kind of danger and poison. These books are poisoning our children's minds. When you read something, you can't unread it. It's there in your mind. Try not to think of a car. See, it's already there. You can't stop it.
Say it ain't so.
Wake up, people! You don't need a committee or a process to remove these books immediately. All the superintendent has to do is send out a memo to all the principals and tell them to have all these offensive adult books removed and unavailable to the students immediately. It's that simple. Remove them now, and then they can take their sweet old time with their committee to review them while the children are not being poisoned with this filth. Get rid of these filthy, disgusting books now.
Yes.
Our next speaker is it Katie? We the town in the call.
I always decide later what I'm gonna say, now that I'm, gotta prepare my remarks since I'm early. So I represent We the County Macomb. We're a community-based organization that is, our mission is to return the authority to govern back to the local communities, which is you guys. You have the power and the authority to govern, and we expect you to stand in the gap for the kids. At the last meeting, I spoke about, I should say, one of you responded when I asked, why do you want to protect these books? Why is it so important for you to keep them in the library? Because by choosing to keep them in, or by choosing to not take them out, you're choosing to keep them in. And one of you responded that you were protecting or looking out for those vulnerable kids who might have been sexually abused, or those books might help. I question your qualifications to decide that re-victimizing a sexual abuse survivor by having those books available to them, what qualifies you, number one, to decide that? But where do you have the right to look out for those couple of children at the expense of the rest of them?
Right.
You are tasked with the responsibility of a lot of kids. It isn't your job, and you are not qualified to say, we're gonna look out for that one sexual abuse survivor that book may help. You have the responsibility to stand in the gap for these kids. You don't have to go by what the state tells you to do. You are a lower authority and you have that power. To the other lady's point, Superintendent, you have every power to remove these books.
Right.
Robert asked, remove them while the process is being played out. Why is that such a big deal? What do you have to lose by saying, get them out and we'll review them?
Thank you.
You're choosing to leave them in.
Thank you. Next person, I can't read the writing. It looks like Jimmy on Glenwood.
You need handwriting glasses.
Hi, I'm Sam Woodard. I am so happy to be able to stand up here and thank you. I was looking at the beautiful smiles that you had when all those wonderful students were standing up here. It was a beautiful thing. And all the people that are concerned about the children. And I know you get bored about us standing up here and saying the same thing, but I know you also are concerned about the children. We talked about, when we said the Pledge of Allegiance, equal justice for all. Well, it's not justice for our children to be exposed to pornography. This is not a situation where we're making an educational guess. Are these books good? This is not an educational guess. This is pure pornography. And you know it is. You know it is. Boy toys. It's in the, it says no manners, but it's in your school. It says it's a book that contains sexual activities between a minor and adult, sexual nudity, excessive profanity. There's another one called Heroin. It contains drug abuse, school alcohol abuse, profanity, sexual commentary. And then there's the art of racing in the rain. She pulled his pants down to his ankles, then lifted one up on and then the other to remove him completely. She winked at me, where are my pants? Then he said, what are you doing? I love you so much, she said. Well, I'm married. Well, it's not like having sex. And then she crawled into bed, and then her massive breast heaving with grief. I mean, this kind of stuff is not for 9th graders, or 10th graders, or 11th graders, or 12th graders. They are not mentally and emotionally able to take that without looking at some girl, these guys are, without looking at a girl and saying, I want that. You know that. We're adults. We understand about those things. Then why are we excessively anxious about this? Because we understand our children are being hurt desperately. Yes, they see enough on TV. They've got enough on their cell phones. On and on and on it goes. There's been 127 books of this nature in your libraries from 9th grade up to 12th. There's no reason. I mean, the sheriff himself can come in and classify this as pornography. It's direct pornography. And you say, well, we'll wait till our panel goes through it. Yeah. But then a panel. I mean, it's good that you set a panel. That's great. You are making progress. That's good. But look, why not pull it all and then go through them? And besides that, the parents have not the access to the whole library. They don't know all these things that are wrong. And so how can they specify, well, I don't want my kid to be reading Racing in the Rain. They don't know. And you're expecting them to do something that's impossible. So you're setting a dead-end street for them and their kid. Look, if a parent says, my son cannot take this book out, his buddy's going to get it and he's going to pass it around. You got to get them out, please. We beg you. That's a responsibility that you all bear, and I'm sure that you want to protect your children. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Next person is Dawn, I'm afraid. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Frey. My pronouns are she, her. I would first like to thank the Chippewa Valley Board of Education for ensuring that there is a procedure in place for book challenges. It is important that these decisions be made in a logical manner by those most qualified to do so. As parents, we absolutely have the right to determine what books our children read. However, we do not have the right to determine what other children read. That is for their parents. To that end, school media centers need to contain materials for all students. Some will say that they aren't doing anything wrong by demanding certain books are removed from the schools. They're still available for purchase, and they're still available at the public library, are two common arguments. Those arguments come from a place of privilege, of not understanding that some families can't afford books. Some families can't get to the libraries. It was suggested at the last meeting that the Bible be added to the media centers. It's actually already in Chippewa Valley High School and Seneca Middle School. What I was not able to find were any non-Christian related religious texts. The 5 major world religions are, in alphabetical order, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, and Judaism. All of these are represented in the United States, in Michigan, in Macomb County, and in Chippewa Valley Schools. All students need to see themselves represented in the materials available. I would ask that we do address this lack. There are people here who are concerned with the availability of books discussing difficult topics. In an ideal world, these books would not be necessary. In an ideal world where everyone is treated with kindness, where everyone is accepted for who they are, where no one makes hurt. Sadly, we don't live in an ideal world. As I've already stated, all students need to see themselves represented in the materials available. This includes those who have faced less than ideal circumstances and those who are not accepted because they're not considered normal. The First Amendment gives each of us the freedom to set our own values, to express ourselves openly without fear, and to join with others to make our views known. There's an old adage that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. While the current squeaky wheel is quite loud, it does not represent the vast majority. You have to look at the results of the last school board election to see that this is true.
Wow.
Thank you for your attention and for your continued commitment to representing all of the students of Chippewa Valley Schools.
You're talking about porn.
Nasty.
Porn.
Father and his little girl.
Disgusting.
Father and his little girl. Good for you.
Let's keep this
Horrible.
please. Okay,
Disgusting.
everybody
Hey,
has.
you lost your mind.
Okay, yes. All right, so let's stop the comments.
Everybody's got their 50.
Next is David Chippewa.
Some are just. Straight out the tree.
Good evening. I'm here to argue that you need to take over the process. The process, we were told last week, was the committees were hand-selected. Okay. Paula Goosen, the media center specialist at Chippewa Valley in the 9th grade center, March of 2022, she posted the Big Red 10 book Oscars, a top 10 list of must-read books. In this top 10 list was All Boys Aren't Blue. Only that's not the full title. The full title is All Boys Aren't Blue, a Memoir, Manifesto. It is a radical gender ideology manifesto by the author's own admission. We're entrusting these professionals to run the committee, yet they're actively promoting this trash. At parent-teacher conferences this week, a parent saw that book, not wedged between other books on the shelf, but prominently displayed in the media center when they went for conferences. So I'm urging you that you cannot trust this process. I don't trust this process. I'm gonna, because you cut us down from 5 to 3, I'm gonna have to wrap up with 3 quotes real quick. First, the Apostle Paul said, "What some people do in secret is shameful even to mention." The things these parents have had to read to try and push this issue fills them with shame because they have a sense of shame. But people who are without shame are actively trying to sexualize our children. It is your job to protect them. Quote number 2, to those who are actively trying to sexualize our children, Jesus put it this way: it would be better to have a millstone hung around your neck and to be thrown into the sea than it will be on the day of judgment for those who cause these little ones to sin. If that sounded harsh, yes. Pushing this crap on kids is evil and you need to repent.
That's right.
The last quote to the board, less harsh, because you're just not pushing back. But I don't think you're actively pushing this stuff. When I was a Lutheran, or a member of a Lutheran church, it was a part of like the daily confession. We have sinned against you in thought, word, and deed by what we have done and by what we have left undone. Do not leave protecting our children from this crap undone. Do not trust them to control this process when the very people who've been put in charge of the process are actively promoting this trash.
Right.
It is your job. You are in authority. You need to use that authority. And listen to a sermon this week and remind me of Pontius Pilate when Jesus came before him. Pontius Pilate washed his hands. He knew that Jesus was innocent. He said, "I find no reason to condemn this man." But he didn't have the urgency of conscience to address what he knew was right. I'm begging you to have the conviction of conscience, to remove them now, and to put together your own process that you've come up with. Thank you.
Next speaker is Liz Miles.
There's the MCL, 75142. It's against the law. 751.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and community. As most of you know, I've been coming to these meetings for quite a while. I brought a lot of concerns to this board, all of which I have seen fall by the wayside. I keep hearing from the administration how we pride ourselves on working with parents. We pride ourselves on working with the community. I'm not being worked with. I have brought numerous complaints, issues, and policy wrongdoing to this board and laid it at your feet. Nothing. Crickets. Why? You want to work with community? Work with community. I've offered, and many of the people in here have offered. We tried to meet in good faith and negotiate something and meet in the middle. You're not willing to do that either. It's your way, right, Mr. Chairman? Because you run this meeting, right? You run this meeting. Isn't that what you said earlier? You did it that way because you run this meeting.
That's right.
I call bullshit. You work for me.
There you go.
You work for us. We run this meeting. This has to stop. I can make it real simple for you. For all your committees and all your procedures and everything else. Look at the book. If it has a rating of adult or young adult, which we all know is 18 to 25, we've all heard it numerous times in here. If it has that rating,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it. Easy. You don't have to have a committee review it. It's already been reviewed. It's already been labeled. Adult. What is so hard about that to understand? Mr. Roberts, why can't you understand that? It's an adult book. Not for children, not for kids. I'm failing to see what the problem is here.
Yeah.
Why are you so adamant about keeping these books in the schools? Why? I don't get it. Can any of you explain? I challenge each and every one of you, when you do oven by the board, to explain to me and all the members in this community why you want these books in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you don't do anything to get them out, you want them in there.
Yep.
I don't want
You
them
have the
in there,
legal
and I'm
authority to
trying to
arrest
do
every one of
something
them.
to
Right
get
now,
them out.
on that. Arrest them.
Yeah, he has the legal authority right now.
There's the MCL, that's Michigan legislative law right there.
750.142.
Anything.
All you have to do.
We got enough
is
evidence
say the
right here to
word.
do it.
You have the authority to make it happen. You don't have to, like Katie said, you don't have to listen to the state, or the president, or the federal government, or anybody else, or the Michigan Association of School Boards. You
That's why we do this.
govern. Well, what a surprise. Well, thanks for cutting it down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes too. That's really working with the community too, isn't it? Thanks, guys.
The next speaker is Rita Zielinski.
He took an oath.
What do you do about it, officer?
They're all under.
Corporate law. That's okay.
April 2021, I spoke at the Chippewa board meeting and presented peer-reviewed studies showing that masks and lockdowns were harmful physically and emotionally and providing no protection. At another, I provided evidence that from censored doctors and renowned scientists sounding the alarm that mRNA shots were extremely dangerous and no one, especially children, should take them. I strongly suggested your partnership with Rite Aid to host clinics on CVS properties to be terminated. I've spoken about sexually explicit adult content books flooding CVS libraries, encouraging alternate gender identities, CRT, and pornographic illustrations. So what does this list have in common? First, this board has made every decision by following recommendations of unelected organizations with their majorities not aligning with our parents or community members, and no legislation created to support these recommendations. Second, the list stems from publicly available agendas by corrupt governments on a global stage down to locally elected. And third, money. And oh boy, the light will shine on the money soon. Or lack of, if we're talking about the unions and pensions, right? I've stated, nothing can stop what's coming. Still true. The world is on fire, and it is. The coming months would get worse, and they have, and that this board has pulled their pants down on several occasions, and the people with eyes to see are watching, new members included, as the exit ramps are now closed. I've never had a crystal ball. I've simply turned off the TV or the television where people watch scheduled programming. Besides NASCAR suits with patches with all your sponsors, I feel like I should hand out red clown noses to all of the knowing and unknowing actors in the script. Example, Mr. Roberts, last meeting you stated that you were unaware of any CVS book issues, even though several books have already been removed and your policy was revised in October. And it appears that some of you are becoming uncomfortable. I don't know why. I've stated that it had to be this way. I've asked, does anyone remember learning what to do if a corrupt government was in place? Well, we have an answer. The people needed to get educated, they needed to research, and we needed to stand up. And so far, we've provided facts, research, laws, insight, and an invitation to help keep our children safe, healthy, and properly educated. You've responded with silence, dismissive behavior, and attempts to roadblock our every effort. Self-preservation is the ugliest of human traits. So what if we flip the script and the corrupt government was given a stage or a platform for a while, where the people could observe and spot all of the bad actors? I want you to think about that. You may not be used to or like that the parents are digging, questioning, and challenging the policies and decisions, but this machine has run smoothly and unchecked for a long time. And I want to say welcome to 2023. I got clown notes.
I just need somebody to help hold my.
Oh, Lord. See, there's the groom right there. You had that, put that MCL,
Good evening.
15-year max.
We would go smoke weed and play basketball. I was smoking up to 3 blunts a day, working, partying, drinking, and not going to class. He pulled out my dick. He went to giving me head.
Oh my God.
I remember the condom was blue and flavored like cotton candy. I put some lube on. I eased in slowly until I heard him moan. Nervous and drunk, he slowly inserted him before he pulled out. When I say I'm not blue, I'm referring to the blue on the police uniform my father wore. How I've watched too many in that same blue harm black and brown people. Title, All Boys Aren't Blue, apparently a manifesto. Available at the Chippewa Valley 9th Grade Center, Chippewa and Dakota High. Word count, ass 2. Fag 13. 2. 16. Shit 11 and piss 1. Topics, fellatio, skipping school, anal sex, homophobic and racial slurs, anti-police, incest, and marijuana alcohol use. Please have our superintendent explain how these topics fit into the educational curriculum. Nothing like providing books to an underage kid that normalizes illicit, illegal, and immoral activities. Equating cotton candy with condoms equals grooming. We determine the standards of morality and vulgarity in the classroom. I'm sick. You muddy the water to make it seem deep. Why are you refusing to remove them, then review? Are you profiting from the purchase and promotion of these books? Are you linked financially to these book publishers?
Wow.
Yeah. Is this gentleman, Mr. Collins of Collins and Blaha? Is that who this gentleman is? Is that firm also known as Collins, Blaha, and Slatkin?
Ooh.
When was this legal firm appointed by Chippewa Valley Schools? Lastly, Mr. Pearl, the answer to your question, are you done yet? Is no, sir. It's just starting. Yeah.
Good, we'll have.
Read it to your grandchildren. Okay, next is Bobby Williams.
I just looked at the other one.
Hello, my name is Bobby. I'm again a graduate of Chippewa Valley Schools. I hate that I'm up here for the second time. Again, the only young person here, which it's kind of sad. Unfortunately.
There's some young people right here, honey. Right here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry you have to hear most of this. Really sorry.
Get them out of the schools.
So fix it for you.
Again, I graduated Chippewa Valley High School. There's a lot of things that I've seen, saw, and heard from everyone walking down the hall. It's nothing that's not in these books. And I'm not really here to talk about these books.
That's what we're
I'm
here to talk
about the safety of one of our elementary schools. There was some miscommunication.
25 years.
There was some miscommunication as to why our school, where our parents weren't involved or notified until last minute, later in the week, of a soft hold. There was some type of commotion, a child unable to control themselves. None of the parents were notified until the end of the week. I have a child in that school. I fear for her safety. What is going on? That is it. I want to know what the soft hold, why were we notified that day? Why did it take the entire week? Just for someone to tell us what was going on. They didn't really mention anything besides a child running around the halls causing harm. So if someone could kind of elaborate what a soft hold is and.
You don't get any answers.
What is it?
It's not a complete lockdown, I know that, but a soft hold is
Someone
what?
call you here.
Okay, that's fine, as long as someone can kind of explain to me and maybe we can go over something that might help the parents at least understand and kind of feel a little bit better, feel better for their kids' safety. Because especially when I wasn't notified till the end of the week that something had gone on in my child's elementary school, I was not a very happy mother. Wanted just to make that known, and don't ban books. Thanks.
Next speaker.
You gonna read that book to your kids?
Help gets hotter every day.
Yeah.
Enlarges itself.
I'm proud of that. Hey, good, you can't fix stupid.
Tonight I'm going to read from Milk and Honey
Indoctrination.
and The Sun and
Or
the Flowers by
indoctrinated.
Rupi Kaur. It's poetry, so when I read it, it's kind of choppy. But I wanted to first start off with the definition of pornography by the Encyclopedia Britannica is the representation of sexual behavior in books, pictures, statues, films, and other media that is intended to cause sexual excitement. It is derived from the word porny, which means prostitute, and graphene, which means to write, and was originally defined as any work of art or literature depicting the life of prostitutes. How on earth is this even a topic in our schools? Did you know that pornography is an addictive stimulant that awakens the same area in the brain as drugs and alcohol? This area is responsible for moral and ethical decision-making and willpower. Why would we subject our children to that?
Wow.
I heard one person say that kids can get this stuff on their phones and computers. My response to that is kids can get drugs and alcohol from their parents, but the schools don't supply it.
Good point.
How about we go back to teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic? I'd like to share some pictures that are in some of the books, and for the children that are in here, I apologize. They left. These are not okay. It's not okay to have these kinds of pictures. Oh my God.
Cool down.
They all got a copy of that in August. Yes, they did. They
Wow.
know what is in these books.
And it's still there?
No kid.
So the parts that I wanted to read to you, and I want you to think about how you feel when I'm reading these because of the definition that I read to you about what pornography is. I will smile, throw my head back, arch my body like a mountain you want to split in half. Baby, lick me. Like your mouth has the gift of reading and I'm your favorite book. Find your favorite page in the soft spot between my legs and read it carefully, fluently, vividly. Don't you dare leave a single word untouched. I swear my ending will be so good. The last few words will come, running into your mouth, and when you're done, take a seat, because it's my turn to make music with my knees pressed to the ground. Sweet baby, this is how we pull language out of one another with the flick of our tongues. This is how we have the conversation. And then we have, you spent enough nights with his manhood curled inside your legs to forget what loneliness feels like. And you must know you were wrong when you come for you. So my final question is, what is the purpose of this filth we have in the education of our schools? The only word that comes to mind is grooming.
Yep.
If that's the case, I encourage you to look up and read Matthew 18:16, like Mr. Shipley said.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Jerry.
Is there anybody to read the MCL?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. In the 180 seconds I have, I want to talk to you about transparency. Would you agree to me that transparency in a relationship is a good thing? Right?
Yep.
Transparency is a quality of being visible with clarity. It refers to being open and honest. Transparency is critical in creating organizational trust, especially in an institution that deals with children. Because we are in such a cultural war today for the minds of our children, there's even a higher level of expectation by parents to know what is being taught to their children, especially in the more philosophical and moral issues that they are challenged with today. You would agree with me that transparency is vital to a happy partnership? It seems to be that this administration is transparent to the board in dealing with details in financial matters. And if that's true, then that's a good thing. It seems that this administration is transparent to the board when it comes to identifying educational and curriculum needs. And that's a good thing. However, when it comes to the more human issues, the emotional, mental, physical health of our children, especially in the cultural war that we are experiencing, when it comes to these human issues, it is there that you are falling short in being transparent, even to the extent of taking the road of deception. The road of deception. This administration has purposely, without total board knowledge, knowingly concealing from the community, purposely placed adult-rated and sexually explicit books into our children's libraries. Where was the transparency in the selection of these books when even our superintendent knew that these books, when discovered, would bring a negative reaction from the community?
Amen.
That's not transparency. In addition, you are now strategizing how to conceal information regarding crucial physical and mental health issues from parents and guardians. And that's not transparency. Time and time again, we have heard a board member exclaim, well, why wasn't I given that information? That's not transparency. Doing things in secret does not build community relationships. Concealing and lying creates a culture of mistrust. It's transparency that builds. It's transparency that creates trust. Transparency, it's a good thing, isn't it?
Thank you. Next, Mallory, Karen.
Good evening. I've had the privilege to teach special needs children of all ages and severities. And when you teach special needs students, you work very closely with parents. Over the 42 years, I have learned many strategies in striving to become a highly qualified teacher for the families that I served. Because of that, I have been honored to receive several awards and acknowledgments by the educational community. What does one need to learn in order to be acknowledged as a highly effective educator? Because of time restraints, let me share one of many that's of most importance that you should hear. I learned the necessity of being an active listener to my parents. Good listening is more than just learning what a parent is saying, but engaging in what information is presented and responding constructively. In that process of engagement, I learned to always be truthful and to admit my mistakes, even at the slightest error that I might have been responsible if it was only 1%. I did this because truth helps to diffuse the situation and opens the way for better communication in solving educational issues. After retirement, I was asked to come back to work to assist the district in working with a parent and a student whose litigation was ongoing for years. Only after a couple of months utilizing these strategies, the entire situation was turned around. The state of Michigan, the district, the parents, all ended up on favorable terms. I have been coming to these board meetings for over a year and a half and have observed that the district creates its own problems when dealing with the community because you choose not to be active listeners. That was observed here tonight with some of the questions asked after they were already answered. Not admitting any error for the sake of correcting it, and worst of all, lying to cover up bad decisions. In a dialogue at the last board meeting, a good example of the best practices not practiced were seen by Mr. Pearl and Mr. Roberts. Mr. Pearl, quote, "Do you know of any obscene materials we have in our library now?" he said to Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts answers to everyone, quote, "I'm not aware of that." Sexually explicit contents in books have been read aloud while parents drop their heads in disbelief, and you say you are unaware of any such books? We've given you lists, we've showed you the books. That's not active listening, and that is not being truthful. These books do exist and can bring harm to our children, as verified by the American College of Pediatrics, which states, quote, "Negative emotional, psychological, and physical health outcomes, including," listen to this now, "increased rates of depression, anxiety," yes I am, "acting out, violent behavior, sexual promiscuity, and distorted view of relationship between men and women." Wow. Listen to our plea. Begin to implement best practices by becoming an active listener, which is by engaging the community, by being truthful to build trust, and by showing humility by admitting your mistakes. You have had almost a month. How many books have you reviewed?
Okay, we're all set. Thank you.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Cheryl Miles.
First, I would like to address Mr. Gura and Mr. King. Can you please stay awake? All right, I greatly appreciate it. There are so many things I would like to speak tonight about. Number one, I can read more sexually explicit excerpts from the books in your school libraries. 2, the effects of premature sexualization of child development. 3, the law on disseminating sexual explicit matter to minors, which the Supreme Court has ruled that transmitting obscenity and child pornography is illegal under federal law. Reno versus ACLU 521 U.S. 844. 4, that obscenity is not protected under the First Amendment, rights to free speech, and violations of federal obscenity laws are criminal offenses. But the one question that my mind keeps coming back to is how? How do you look at yourselves in the mirror knowing full well that you are exposing these dark, very dark, disturbing, trauma-filled books to impressionable young minds, to children? All of you have known about these books since August, whether you sat up there or you were on the campaign trail, and have had the same amount of time and resources to discover what books are in the libraries, to research the dangers of pornography, to research the laws, and know full well that the federal courts have ruled that the school board can legally remove the books from our shelves, and you have done nothing. You still refuse to even temporarily remove the 140, and still counting, sexually explicit books until at least your cherry-picked committees have had a chance to review them. Where are your moral compasses? How does it feel to know that you are grooming our children for sexual predators to use them? That is child abuse.
Yeah.
Speaking from a person who was sexually molested as a young adult, the last thing I want to do is read about it. Ms. Aquino, you spoke about how these books will help these children who have gone through this to know that they aren't alone. There are a ton of books out there that don't go through the explicit and gruesome details of a young girl being raped, that will actually help them and give them tools to cope without reliving the painful act. I saw a quote today that fits perfectly here. Without a moral compass, the mind will justify anything. At the last school board meeting, Mr. Watovich asked, why can't the school libraries have the New King James Version Bibles in them? Your attorney, Mr. Collins, specifically said that the Bible would only be legal if the schools had a class on comparative religion. In going through both high school course books, CVS does in fact have a course entitled History of Religions, course number 8550, which explores a variety of religions, experiences their historical formation, as well as know how these traditions are a part of America's diverse society. With this being said, we expect a delivery of the New King James Version Bibles in the school libraries forthwith.
There you go.
Next speaker is Monica Recco.
Tonight I'm bringing to your attention a book located in Erie Elementary's library. It's called It Feels Good to Be Yourself, a book about gender identity. This book doesn't contain sexually explicit language, but it does include information about transgender, cisgender, non-binary, and that some people can be both a boy and a girl. When you look up this book on Erie's online catalog, it doesn't say that this book needs parental consent or that this book is in the media clerk's office. This book must sit on a shelf for any kindergartner through 5th grader to check out. Here are a few pages from the book. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy, until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone she's actually a girl.
Yes.
There are so many different ways to be a boy or a girl. Too many to fit into a book. But not everyone feels like either a boy or a girl. Non-binary is a helpful word that can describe a kid who doesn't feel exactly like a boy or a girl. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they never felt exactly like a boy or a girl. They just felt like himself. This is JJ's gender identity. See, when you were born, you couldn't tell people who you were or how you felt. They looked at you and made a guess. Maybe they got it right, maybe they got it wrong. Do you think this book is appropriate for every child to check out? Every parent has the right to raise and educate their children consistent with their beliefs and values. If you are a parent that would like to teach your children about these kinds of things, that is your right. If a parent doesn't want to teach their children about these things, that is also their right. If this book remains in the library, then the library also needs to have a book called God Made Boys and Girls, Helping Children Understand the Gift of Gender God Made Me.
One nation with a hoop.
Order it.
We have to listen to all parents, right? Here's a small passage from the website The American Spectator. Most kindergartners don't know how to read, tie their shoes, or recite their home ec. But instead of teaching the academic basics, schools are now actively promoting identity confusion, emotional harm, and insecurity, negative impacts that last a lifetime. It's no wonder that a child and adolescent's mental health issues are on a steep rise when students are taught to question their own identity and select from an ever-growing list of confusing options. I have a master's degree in early childhood development. I taught kindergarten for 6 years and first grade for 1 year. Young minds are impressionable. What does this mean? Children are easily influenced by other people.
Yes.
My last comment tonight to the board. I would love to know why during, from, and by the board, the majority of you sit there and say nothing about these books. I have heard that some of you don't support these books being in our schools. I've also heard that some of you are not fans of the union, yet you have nothing to say. Do you know the impact that it would have even if you said, I don't support these books being in our school, but there's a procedure that needs to be followed. Besides Robert, not a single board member has publicly stated that these books are not age appropriate. I'm almost done. Have the courage to be disliked. Will we hear from you tonight, or will you allow your strings to continue to be pulled to tell you what to think and say?
Yeah.
This book for your grandkids.
Next week, Nancy.
First, I'd like to thank the members of the Board of Education for being here tonight and for having the courtesy of listening to these people speak. But I also am here, someone earlier talked about transparency. As I was coming into the meeting tonight, I heard a woman talking to other people about filling out the form to speak, and she said, just check that you want to speak and put your name. Well, I'm a resident of the district, and I feel that what really should happen here is that the people who speak ought to be residents of the district and or have children who are in this district.
Nope.
U.S. Constitution, man.
There are a lot of people.
Open to the public, period.
But
I want to hear it.
That's ignorance.
we need to be looking at, I get the impression, okay, it's open to the public. But on the other hand, I know I've gone to other meetings where they say, well, you have to be a resident or whatever.
That's a lie.
We'll go there, let me know where that's
I
at.
don't know whether that holds here or not.
No.
But
It's illegal.
I feel really
Illegal.
sorry for the people who are up here having to listen to so many folks who are not residents, try and basically bullying their way.
You hear all the voices?
I hear voices, and
Do you see dead people
I think
too?
that we really need to also look at the fact,
I want to hear
the
it.
last person who spoke talked about a book that dealt with kids who maybe don't identify with their own gender. We need to acknowledge that those children exist. And we need to also look at things that are age appropriate, yes. But I would like to see the acknowledgement too of things like, when I was in high school, we read The Fountainhead. There was a rape
Who
in
paid
that.
her off to come up?
It's a classic. It's by Ayn Rand, who I'm sure a lot of these people have read. I've also, in high school, read Native Son by Richard Wright. And I went to a school where there was not one black student. It was the teacher's attempt to introduce us to a world we did not know in our own experience. We should, part of education is exposing children to things, especially in high school, that may not
She just
fall
wants her 15
within
minutes of
their
fame.
normal experience. And I think we need to open up their minds and their experiences because they're almost adults in high school. And we need to allow them
Groomer,
to
tree jumper.
Thank you.
Please read to your grandkids this shit.
Tree jumper. He comes right and touch your hand. Fell straight up the tree into the sandbox. Nasty bastard.
Everybody gets a
I've got a
chance.
pocket full of pollinators.
There doesn't need to be comments about what they're saying.
Yeah, they're
Okay? Next person is Steve, or I guess it's a couple, Steve and Nicole. Lucia?
Hey, good evening. I appreciate you guys giving us an opportunity to speak. We're fighting for our daughter. We are looking for you guys to reconsider in-district transfers. We are currently 1.1 miles away from an elementary, and we're being told that we have to go to our school that's 3.9 miles away, which is across Groesbeck, not anywhere by our neighborhood, and not given a choice at all. Both my wife and I are administrators, so we understand when schools are full. We do understand that part, and we asked even for a second choice. And we were denied that second choice as well, saying it wasn't even an option. We understood being administrators, and we kind of let it go, talking to a few other administrators in the district. Then this past summer, or this past fall, my daughter met a friend in dance, and we asked her where she went to school. And it was that second choice that we chose for our daughter. Come to find out, she lives in Mount Clemens, and she's school of choice. She's allowed to pick where they can go, but us in-district people who are paying the taxes towards this community have no choice.
Wow, that's fucked up.
You guys have given us an opportunity to speak, and I'm speaking to a few of you, although I've reached out to Mr. Roberts and not heard back yet. But I did hear from Ms. Licari and a few others, so I do respect that very much. On there, it says special circumstances are one of the reasons that you could move in an in-district transfer. When we initially started in a district, our daughter now was in 4th grade, was a kindergartner, and in-district transfers were allowed. But because of our schedules being principals, we didn't want our 5-year-old to come to school at 7 o'clock and leave at 5 o'clock, so we chose to bring her with us. Now that we try to move her back into the district, because we're on a private court, where she's the only child in the court, and if you don't know the district very well, private court, there's no way out, because there's no sidewalk on the roads. So it's her and I riding up and down the bike, trying to get a part of the community, but we can't. And the few friends that she does have from when she was in kindergarten and doing tap and dance and softball at the CMFL G League, all those kids were allowed to district transfer. And they're going to the school that we want to go to, but we have no choice. And it just doesn't seem fair. So we're fighting for our child and anyone else who's in this circumstance. And we would appreciate at least a call back or some kind of special circumstance. We would appreciate it in consideration.
I'll turn your slip over as well.
Thank you, sir.
I can't read this handwriting as a student at the Chippewa Valley High School.
Start with a C or a
Student
K?
here?
Yeah, there's 2 students.
It starts with, it looks like a K, I can't read. Hudson River.
Hi, I am Karina. I'm a student currently at Chippewa. Hi. A few things I'd like to say. One, I'm in the yearbook program. CTE program is amazing. I have a wonderful advisor, Ms. Keel. She is phenomenal. And also, to any parents who are CBHS, we are currently selling yearbooks and we're trying to sell them, so that's just a little thing. My teacher told me if I was going to talk, I shouldn't mention that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I found this one book. This isn't sexually explicit. It's a completely different reason. It's called The Fake News Crisis, and it came out like a year ago, I think. Now, being in the yearbook program, I am a journalist, and I've learned how to be very journalistic. And I thought this would be a fantastic book to teach me how to develop that craft. However, upon reading it, it is not journalistic whatsoever. It is the Here, why don't I read some excerpts from it, please? So, this book is essentially about the fake news that has been happening within recent months, and one of the stories was about COVID vaccine conspiracy theories threaten some educators' jobs. Now, you probably know what I'm talking about, but when I read this to you, you will be surprised what they actually say. Conspiracy theories related to COVID-19 vaccines could cause some Florida educators to lose their jobs. In April 2021, leaders of the Center Academy, a private school located in Miami, warned teachers that the school would not employ vaccinated educators. We cannot allow recently vaccinated people to be near our students until more information is known. Reports have surfaced recently, okay, there's just a quote, but it ends with this saying from the author. The reality, this is the school's policy alarmed public health officials. However, as a private business, the school has a right to enforce this policy, forcing some educators to choose between their health and their livelihood, or more broadly, between science and fake news. So my question is, why is the one example of choosing between vaccines for teachers and professional workers about if you do get the vaccine, you're out of the job? I'm pretty sure it was the opposite way around. Another thing, this has to do with, do you guys remember your arguments for not masking? Well, according to this book, it says, conservatives claimed that mask-wearing regulations endanger children. The theory maintained that masking children makes it difficult for them to cry for help if they are snatched by sex traffickers.
See that?
So, yeah, and it only has like QAnon stuff in it too. Let's see, there was another really funny thing. This book literally made me laugh out loud.
Critical thinking.
All right.
So good.
In the run-up to the 2020 presidential election, right-wing extremist groups set up a fake news websites, fake social media accounts, and private Facebook groups to spread misinformation that glorified Trump and defamed political opponents. Question, have they ever heard of politics or a campaign, presidential campaigns? That's kind of how it's been throughout entire history. Hey, vote for me, I'm amazing, that person sucks.
Right.
So why are you saying now that it's misinformation? Like, sorry. Also, this thing says that the Huffington Post is a credible source, but.
That was hilarious.
Carmen?
My name is Carmen. I'm a child, and I am a part of. Okay. My name is Carmen. I am a child, and I am a resident of this school. There are people who were complaining about people not being residents of this area and complaining about the books. Well, I am a child who is a part of the school and therefore a resident. I am also a student at Chippewa Valley High School. I'm involved in NHS yearbook, CTC, which is an anti-drug group that also promotes healthy events, which also proves. I'm shaking.
Take your time. Take your time.
I have come before the board to address the concerns that many parents and myself have about explicit books available in the library. Let me say, not going to the library is not a suggestion. It's not a good thing that you can do. I am not one for book banning, but the books currently available definitely raise questions. For example, as one who frequents the library, I often see the books pushed by librarians, highlighted for students to read. Rather than suggest classics or books ready to analyze, we're being pushed sexually explicit books, such as Not All Boys Are Blue. And they're very prominently displayed. Every librarian, when we walk in or out, is like, hey, why don't you check out this book? Never heard anything from, why don't you check out Moby Dick? Why don't you check out The Scarlet Letter? Why don't you check out anything else like that? Why don't you look at this? I have to ask, why are these books so available and pushed? Official porn would never be pushed in a school library, and there's a reason for that. The material is illegal and for minors to consume. Students would be Okay, I ask again, why are these sexually explicit books allowed? Is it the fact that they showcase LGBTQ characters? Does that help with your also important mission for diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yep.
If these books contain straight characters instead of LGBTQ ones, it would be considered porn, which is not legally allowed, which is illegal for minors under 18 to consume. Although I am not against books featuring LGBTQ characters, the books portraying and even celebrating sexual acts that would be considered as foreign if they were outside of this context are pushed on high schoolers and middle schoolers and kindergartners. These acts are considered by many, with myself included, to be evil. I ask again, how many of you board members have actually read these books personally, and would you be okay with reading them to your children? I hear the argument that these books are supposedly helping students with transitioning, being gay, etc. They don't. I have friends who have read these books before and who have been sexually abused in the past. They were traumatized by it. They thought it was going to be helpful, but they were absolutely traumatized. I have other friends who have also just can't stop thinking about them when they don't want to after they've read them. Now, I've stated before that I'm not against banning books, so perhaps I can offer a solution to use both sides. Instead of keeping these books in the library, you can give them to counselors, but they can only be read if the student requests them and if a parent approves of that request as well.
Yeah. There you go.
Other school districts have implemented this policy, and it makes everybody happy.
You're at your limit here.
What?
So. Let her finish. Go ahead.
It's only a couple sentences. Finish up. Why is porn so dangerous? It can become addicting, consuming, and all-consuming, void of obsession, depression, destroying lives, careers, and marriages. These books, pushed on elementary, middle, and high school students, contain the same pornographic material that destroys lives and causes obsession. But according to those who place the books in libraries, the fact that these books contain LGBTQ characters makes the material okay for these students to consume. This is perhaps the most backwards thinking I've ever heard of in my life. Perhaps you won't listen to the adults, to the concerned parents, but you must listen to the students that come to you. You were elected to protect us students. And I am a student coming to ask you for help. You teach the students to find their voice, and I found mine, whether you like it or not.
Thank you, everybody. Next item on the agenda is covered by the board. Everybody has
I guess I'll start out here. Speaking about what I want to amend the agenda, I'd like to actually talk about it. I wanted to make it public. I want to be transparent, but after reviewing the laws and listening to what our attorney said at the last meeting, it seems that there's only one conclusion to be had. At our last board meeting, the attorney said that we must always assume abuse in the home, and because of that, we keep information from parents and guardians about the children. Even if there is absolutely no reason to assume abuse, or even if our district could be the reason that the child has been having some of these false and crazy ideas. We need to just accuse the family of suspected child abuse and just turn it over to the authorities for the parents' life to be turned into chaos and slander and be investigated. This doesn't sound like competent legal advice.
Nope.
I'm not an attorney, but I'm going to advise this board that I know that people have told me that filing false police reports or reports just to keep information from parents is a crime.
Absolutely.
And will and should result in lawsuits in our district. Another subject, and I guess
porn in the library.
I guess going into closed session. Lacking transparency in my view, but anyhow, another subject is the council at the last meeting. I'm not sure why our council at the last meeting seemed confused who was on the board and who was hired to work for. He did not know who our board members are. Did he have the idea that he was only working for a select few at this table? Was he confused and incompetent? Did somebody give him the wrong impression? Or was there something else resulting in him being unsure and rude? I'd like to know the answer. In addition, it's very rude and unprofessional to laugh at your client just because they ask a question. Knowing this, I guess I'm gonna have to ask, how competent is the council that we hired? And again, last but not least, we're going into executive session, and I cannot agree with this because I am told that this is a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act. So, that is my comments.
Anyone up there for the people?
Oh, yeah, so, excuse me? No. I'm not, okay, so I really, only have a couple of things. I wanted to let the community know, and the people that will watch later, that I attended a fundraiser on Saturday night for an all-inclusive playground for Clinton Township. And while I was there was a principal and a teacher from Miami Elementary who are working on the reading interventionalists, with the reading interventionalists, and being trained in Schools Cube, which is the program we're using to bring kids back up to the correct reading level. They were very, very excited about it and feel that they already see growth in the students. And I just wanted to make that known to people that we are doing this, and it is working well from what I've been told, and they were very excited about it. I just wanted to say that the points of pride that we discuss and focus on in the beginning of the meeting is one of the reasons that I've always been dedicated to the school district. We have a truly great school district, whether people agree or not. And the student, our student achievement and recognition to me is the highlight of our meetings. I would hope that the enthusiasm that we see throughout our meetings would be directed at our student achievement. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else?
New board members, would love to hear from you.
I just want to congratulate the CTE winners that were awarded tonight, Bax and Ms. Gilroy. I know the Pacifico family, and I'm not surprised that that all these people, they're great. And I also want to congratulate Mr. Paycar, Ms. Ferguson, Holly, and Logan for their great performance tonight. It's not easy to get up in front of a crowd to sing, and I think they did a great job. To any of the community members that feel that I was not fully attention tonight, I apologize if that looked like that. I swear to God, I did not fall asleep at any time. I've got 7 pages of notes that I took the entire time. I may have closed my eyes listening to the performers, but other than that, I was fully attention. That's all.
Why don't you congratulate these young girls?
I will congratulate all the speakers tonight. Thank you for being respectful.
Very nice, thank you.
Hey, one more thing. On Saturday, I went to the Science Olympiad event at Chippewa Valley, and it was awesome. Anybody, if you get a chance to go, these kids have such a great time, and they have big achievements. I think everybody won. Everybody had a lot of awards given out. It's a good event. Actually, this Friday, we have the Lego Robotics coming up, so if anybody's interested, that's a nice event for the kids too.
I agree with you. Okay, I do have one follow-up question, and it's for the young lady in the second row that got up to talk. I just wanted to do a follow-up question. You said that when you went into your library that it appeared these books were being pushed on you?
Yeah.
Was it, who was pushing them on you? Was it somebody from the school staff, or was it?
It was the
somebody-
librarian.
Librarian?
So
And
she
this was at Chippewa Valley High
Yes.
School? Okay. All set? Okay, next item is executive session, 8H, attorney-client privilege. Need a motion to go into executive session?
I'll move.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Gora?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Wade?
Remind them next time.
there's a lot more I wanted to say, such as, I mean, this
Good job,
is,
kid.
like, I don't think this should be part of the schools, but there should be like equal autonomy, this to be equal. I was going to get that, but I was going to